There's a small detail from the end of the first Star Wars film that I often come back to. It's not the medal ceremony, or the cheering, or the triumphant music. It's the quiet moment just after the Death Star explodes. It's the image of a single TIE fighter, a prototype, spinning helplessly through the blackness of space. Inside, Darth Vader, Lord of the Sith, survivor of a cataclysm he was meant to prevent, is utterly alone. He has failed his Emperor. The ultimate weapon in the universe has been destroyed by a single, impossibly lucky shot from an unknown rebel pilot in a tiny X-Wing. And in that silent, solitary spin, a question must have begun to form. A cold, heavy question that would settle deep within his machinery and his remaining flesh. Who was that pilot? Luck doesn't feel like this. Chance doesn't carry this kind of weight. The Force, which he had commanded for 2 decades, had sung around that pilot. It was a familiar song, an echo of a melody he hadn't heard in a very long time. And that is what we'll be drifting through tonight. We're going to settle in with that quiet question and follow the answer as it was slowly, carefully uncovered. We'll be telling the story of how Darth Vader discovered he had a son named Luke Skywalker. It's a story that happens in the quiet spaces between the films. A story that changes everything we think we know about the hunt that follows. And it begins not with a grand vision, but with a simple business transaction. There is nothing you need to remember here. No test at the end. The whole point is to let the story wash over you, to let your mind drift and wander as we go. If you fall asleep halfway through, that's wonderful. That's what we're here for. So, just settle in, feel the weight of your blanket, and listen to the quiet sounds of the room around you. The failure at the Battle of Yavin was a deep humiliation for Darth Vader. He was the Emperor's right hand, the fist of the Empire, and he had been undone by a farm boy. In the eyes of the Imperial Command, men like Grand General Tag, Vader was now seen as a relic, a believer in an ancient religion whose sorcerous ways had failed to protect their greatest asset. For his failure, the Emperor puts him on a leash. Vader is placed under the command of others, forced to take orders in the field. He is still feared, of course, but his authority is diminished, and all the while, that question burns. The boy who destroyed the Death Star, the Force was with him. Who was he? Vader cannot use the vast resources of the Imperial Security Bureau or Naval Intelligence to answer this question. To do so would be to admit his obsession, to reveal a personal agenda outside of the Emperor's will, and that would be unwise. So, he does what powerful men do when they need a task accomplished quietly, with absolute discretion and no official record. He reaches outside the system. He hires bounty hunters. Not just any bounty hunters. He needs the best. He needs someone who can move through the underworld as easily as a shadow. Someone who asks no questions beyond the terms of the contract. Someone without allegiance to the Empire, or the rebels, or anything but the payment. And so, Darth Vader, in a quiet corner of the galaxy, hires Boba Fett. The contract is simple. The mission is not to capture, not to eliminate. It is simply to learn. Find the rebel pilot responsible for the destruction of the Death Star. Find him, and bring Vader his name. Just the name. That's all he wants. A single word. It's always a good moment to just pause, and to let your body settle a little deeper into whatever surface is holding you. To let your shoulders soften. It's funny to think about where everyone might be listening to this. What time is it for you, I wonder? Is it late at night? the city outside your window finally quiet. Or maybe it's the middle of the afternoon, and you're stealing a moment of rest. Are you in a country where it's cold right now, wrapped up in a thick duvet? Or somewhere warm, with a fan turning slowly overhead? It's a nice thought. All these different people, in different places, all settling into the same quiet story together. If you enjoy these quiet drifts through stories like this one, and you'd like to find more of them to help you sleep, a follow or a subscribe is always welcome. It just helps these stories find their way to others who might need them. But that's all. No more talk of that. Let's drift back to that bounty hunter and the simple name he was hired to find. Boba Fett is nothing if not efficient. For him, this is just another job, a high-paying one from a dangerous client, but a job nonetheless. Information is a commodity, like any other. The comic books from 2015, written by Kieran Gillen, are where this story is laid out for us. They fill in that dark, quiet space between the first and second films. And in their pages, we see Fett go to work. He is a detective in his own way. He starts with what he knows. The pilot was last seen leaving Yavin 4. He flew an X-Wing. He was part of the Rebel Alliance. He follows a trail of whispers and rumors. He shakes down a few low-level informants. He leans on contacts in the Outer Rim. And eventually, the trail leads him to a familiar place. A place of twin suns and endless desert. Tatooine. It's on this dusty, forgotten world that the trail gets warm. He learns the pilot was a local boy, a farm boy raised by his aunt and uncle. He finds a group of Jawas who remember the family. He finds someone in Mos Eisley who knew the boy. And bit by bit, the identity comes into focus. It's all very mundane, really. The kind of methodical, shoe-leather investigation that happens every day, in every system. There is no magic to it, just patience and the right amount of pressure. Finally, in a cantina, he corners a young boy, a friend of the pilot's, and he gets the last piece of the puzzle. He gets the name, and then he leaves. The job is done. He has the information he was paid to retrieve. He sets a course to rendezvous with Lord Vader. The meeting takes place on a Star Destroyer. The setting is cold, sterile and silent, as all Imperial ships are. All grey metal and recycled air. Vader stands, as he always does, a black monolith of impassive armour. Boba Fett stands before him, his own Mandalorian armour, a mosaic of muted greens and reds. Two masked figures, defined by their helmets, their true faces hidden. Vader's voice, filtered through the respirator, is a low, mechanical rumble. He asks for the report. Boba Fett, ever the professional, is direct. He tells Vader that he found the pilot. He confirms the boy is from Tatooine. He confirms he's strong with the Force. And then he delivers the final piece of information. The one thing Vader hired him for. He says, the name is Skywalker. And in that moment, in the comic book panel, the world breaks. The sound isn't loud. It's not an explosion. It is the sharp, crystalline crack of transparasteel under immense, impossible pressure. The huge, curved viewport of the Star Destroyer's bridge, a window looking out onto the silent sea of stars, suddenly spiderwebs with fractures. Not from an outside impact, but from an internal one. Vader doesn't move, he doesn't speak, but the Force, lashing out from him in a storm of pure, unrestrained shock, cracks the very ship around him. It is the only outward sign of the cataclysm that has just occurred inside his mind. Skywalker. That was his name. The name of a slave boy on Tatooine, the name of a Jedi Knight, the name he was told to forget, the name he tried to burn away in the fires of Mustafar. a name he hadn't heard spoken in connection to himself in 19 years. And in that one shattering second, 2 decades of lies fall away. Padme, he remembers her. He remembers their last moments. He remembers the Emperor's voice, telling him that in his anger he had killed her, that she was gone, and that their child, the child she was carrying, had died with her. It was a lie. All of it. A lie. Padme's child lived. His child lived. And the Emperor, his master, the man he had sacrificed everything for, had known. Or, at the very least, he had hidden the truth. He had let Vader believe he was utterly alone, that he had destroyed the last piece of the man he once was. He had used that grief, that guilt, to forge Vader into the perfect weapon, a weapon with no attachments, no past, no hope. But now there is hope, or something like it, something terrible and vast and powerful. The boy who destroyed the Death Star, the pilot who was so strong with the Force, was not some random prodigy. He was the son of Anakin Skywalker, flesh of his flesh, blood of his blood, the heir to a power that Vader had thought would die with him. The bounty hunter, Boba Fett, simply stands there, watching the window crack. He doesn't understand the significance of the name. To him, it's just a word. He has delivered the product and fulfilled the contract. He is owed his payment. But for Darth Vader, that single word has rewritten his entire existence. The past 19 years have been a lie. And the future is now a hunt. But it's not the Emperor's hunt anymore. It's his own. This one moment, this single panel in a comic book, gently reframes the entire story of The Empire Strikes Back. When we watch that film, we assume Vader is hunting Luke on the Emperor's orders, that he's just the relentless enforcer, chasing down the rebel who poses a threat to the Empire. But knowing this, knowing that he has just spent months, maybe even a year or more, searching for this boy's name, it changes everything. The search for Luke Skywalker is no longer an imperial objective. It is a personal obsession. A father, a broken and monstrous father, is looking for his son. Think of that famous scene, the one where Vader has assembled the greatest bounty hunters in the galaxy on the bridge of his superstar destroyer, the Executor. He stands before them, Boba Fett, IG-88, Dengar, Bosk, and gives them their mission. Find the Millennium Falcon. Find the ship that carries his son. His voice is cold and commanding, but listen to his specific instruction to Boba Fett. I want them alive, he says. Then he points a single black-gloved finger. No disintegrations. Without the context of the comic, it's a cool line, a hint at Boba Fett's violent reputation. But with this new understanding, it's something else entirely. It's a father's desperate, unspoken plea. The boy is on that ship. His friends are on that ship. Do not harm him. Do not, under any circumstances, kill him. Bring him to me, alive. Suddenly, the whole film is not about a war. It's about a custody battle. A dark, twisted, galactic custody battle. Every probe droid launched into the far reaches of space isn't just searching for a rebel base. It's a father's eye, scanning the cosmos for a single, fleeting glimpse of his child. The relentless pursuit of the Millennium Falcon through the asteroid field isn't just military tactics. It is desperation. He cannot let them get away. Not again. Vader's rage at his own Imperial officers becomes clearer too. When Admiral Ozzel brings the fleet out of hyperspace too close to Hoth, alerting the rebels, Vader chokes him to death over the view screen. It's not just punishment for incompetence. It's the fury of a man whose long-laid plans to finally see his son have been ruined by a fool. He was so close. This knowledge makes Vader's journey more tragic, and in a strange way, more human. He is still a monster. He is still a tyrant. But he is a monster with a single, burning purpose that is entirely his own. He is no longer just the Emperor's dog. He has his own secret, his own agenda, and that agenda is not to destroy Luke, but to reclaim him, to pull him to his side. Which brings us gently to that dark gantry on Bespin, in the heart of Cloud City. The duel, the climax of the entire search. Luke, young and brave but hopelessly outmatched, is beaten. His hand is severed. He is disarmed, cornered, with nowhere to go but down into the abyss. And Vader stands over him, the red blade of his lightsaber humming in the gloom. This is the moment. The culmination of the hunt, the end of the long search that began with a simple contract given to a bounty hunter. And Vader speaks the words that shocked a generation of filmgoers. I am your father. In the context of the films alone, it's a shocking twist, a revelation that comes from nowhere. Many fans, for years, wondered if Vader himself had only just learned this. Perhaps the Force revealed it to him in the heat of battle. Perhaps the Emperor told him just before he left for Bespin. But the comic shows us this is not the case. This is not a spontaneous revelation. It is the entire point of the exercise. This moment is what the last 3 years of his life have been about. Every ship captured, every officer punished, every system blockaded. It was all leading to this single, desperate confession on a high platform above the clouds. His next words are just as important. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son. This is not just a generic offer of power from a villain. This is the new plan, hatched in the instant he heard the name Skywalker. The Emperor lied to him. The Emperor used him. The Emperor is no longer his master in the same way. He is an obstacle standing between a father and his son. Vader's new dream is to take his son, his powerful, Force-sensitive son, and with him, overthrow Palpatine, to end the lie, to create a new order, a Skywalker dynasty, built on the ashes of the old one. It is a terrible, tyrannical dream, born of pain and betrayal. But it is a dream of family. He is not trying to kill Luke. He is trying to recruit him. He is trying to save him, in his own twisted way, from the same man who manipulated and destroyed Anakin Skywalker. Luke's choice then becomes even more powerful. He looks at this monster, this black-clad nightmare who has taken his hand and killed his mentor, and he hears the truth, a truth his heart knows is real. And he chooses the abyss. He chooses to let go, to fall into nothingness, rather than become what his father has become. It is the ultimate rejection, and for Vader, it must be the ultimate failure. He found his son, only to lose him again in the very same moment. He offered him the galaxy, and his son chose death. The quiet journey back to his Star Destroyer, the silent walk to his shuttle, must have been one of profound, echoing loneliness. The hunt was over. The prize was lost. And now he had to go and face the man who had lied to him all along. This raises another quiet question. What did the Emperor know? And when did he know it? The comics offer a subtle and fascinating answer to this as well. After Vader learns Luke's name, and after his initial world-shattering shock, he must compose himself. He has a new secret, a dangerous piece of knowledge that could get him killed if his master discovers his new agenda. So, he plays a very dangerous game. He goes before the Emperor. He kneels, and he reports, as a dutiful apprentice would, on the destruction of the Death Star. He tells Palpatine that he has identified the pilot responsible, and then he says the name out loud, to his master's face. The pilot's name was Skywalker. He says it as a test. He is watching his master, watching for any flicker of recognition, any sign of guilt or surprise. A tiny tell that would confirm the Emperor knew all along. But Palpatine is a master of deceit. His face, already a mask of ancient evil, reveals nothing. He feigns mild surprise. Skywalker, he muses, the son of the traitor, Anakin Skywalker. He cleverly frames it as if Luke is the son of the Jedi he destroyed, not the Sith Lord kneeling before him. He maintains the lie, even now. But the game has changed. The secret is out between them, even if it is unspoken. Both of them know who Luke is, and both of them now want him. Palpatine sees a potential replacement, a younger, more powerful apprentice, with none of Vader's damage, none of his history, a perfect vessel. Vader sees a potential ally, a son, the key to his own freedom and his revenge against the man who took everything from him. From this moment on, a silent Cold War exists between the two Sith Lords. They are both hunting the same boy, but for entirely different reasons. They are partners on the surface, but rivals in the shadows. Every move Vader makes to capture Luke is also a move to keep him away from the Emperor. Every order the Emperor gives is designed to test Vader's loyalty and to bring the boy into his own grasp. It adds a layer of quiet, paranoid tension to their every interaction in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. That hologram conversation where the Emperor first tells Vader about Luke. The son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi. Vader's reply, if he could be turned, he would be a powerful ally, is not just a suggestion. It is a declaration of his own secret plan. He is planting the seed, testing the waters. And the Emperor's response, yes, he would be a great asset. Can it be done? Is not a simple question. It is a challenge. Can you do it, my broken apprentice? Or will I have to do it myself? It's all so much richer, isn't it? The entire saga becomes a story about a broken family, a manipulative, evil grandfather figure in Palpatine, a monstrous, regretful father in Vader, and a son, Luke, who is caught between them, representing a hope that neither of them truly understands. And it all hinges on that one, small, quiet moment. A bounty hunter delivering a piece of information, a single name. It's a beautiful piece of storytelling because it resists the grand and the mythic. Vader's revelation doesn't come from a dark side vision, or a mysterious prophecy, or an ancient holocron. The Force doesn't just whisper the secret to him. No, the truth arrives in the most mundane way possible. It's an intelligence report, a piece of data delivered by a paid contractor. It's paperwork, a name on a file, and that, somehow, makes it more powerful. The most galaxy-altering truth imaginable is delivered with all the ceremony of a package delivery. And it is in that quiet, unassuming moment that the entire course of the galactic civil war and the fate of the Skywalker family is changed forever. It is the beginning of the end for the Empire. The moment the viewport cracks is the first tiny fissure in Vader's own armor. It's the first crack that lets the light of Anakin Skywalker back in. The thought of his son ignites a part of him he believed was long dead. It is a dangerous, possessive, selfish kind of love, to be sure. But it is a connection to his past, a connection to Padme, a connection to the man he was. And it is that connection, rekindled by a bounty hunter's report that will eventually lead him to the throne room of the second Death Star. It will lead him to watch his son being tortured by the Emperor, and it will give him the strength to finally turn on his master, to betray the man who lied to him, and to save the son whose name once shattered his world. It's a nice thought to fall asleep on, that the biggest changes in our lives, the pivots that redefine everything, don't always arrive with a thunderclap. Sometimes they arrive as a whisper, a single word, a quiet piece of information that lands in your mind and changes the shape of your entire world, long before anyone else even knows it has happened. So let that thought just be there. Let it float. You don't need to hold on to it. Let the story go soft at the edges now. Let all the names and all the places begin to fade and blur. The only thing that matters is the rhythm of your own breathing, the feeling of the air moving in and moving out. The story is told. The hunt is over for tonight. There is nothing left to do now but rest. Just rest. Let go of the day. Let go of everything. Rest well, but perhaps you are still awake, still floating here in the quiet dark with me. If you are, that's perfectly all right. There is nowhere you need to be. Let's drift back a little bit. Back before the bounty hunter, before the name. Let's go back to the moment just after the Death Star vanishes, before he even knows the name of the pilot who destroyed it. What did Darth Vader know? What was the shape of the world in his mind on that night? Picture it, if you like. You don't need to see it clearly. Just the impression of it is enough. Vader is alone. He is tumbling through the black, his TIE fighter crippled and spinning slowly, uncontrollably, away from the debris field that was once the ultimate power in the universe. There is no sound in the vacuum of space. The silent scream of the explosion is just a memory of light. All he can hear is the low, rhythmic hiss of his own respirator, in and out, and the groaning protest of his damaged ship. He has failed. Utterly. He was there. He was in the trench, his targeting computer locked, his thumb about to press the firing stud that would have ended the rebellion in a single, fiery burst. And he failed. What he knows in that moment is this. The pilot of that X-Wing was no ordinary pilot. He felt it. That last-second impossible shot was not luck. It was the Force. He had said it himself, a moment before his world was sent spinning. The Force is strong with this one. It's a thought worth resting on for a moment. What did that phrase mean to him right then? It wasn't a realization of fatherhood. It was something far more immediate and far more irritating. It was a ghost. The last time he had felt a presence like that, a presence he recognized from his old life, was just hours earlier, on the station itself. Obi-Wan Kenobi, his old master. Vader had struck him down, watched him vanish, and assumed that was the end of it. The last lingering tie to his past, severed. And now, this. A new presence. Raw, yes. Untrained, chaotic, but powerful. Impossibly powerful. To Vader, the logic is simple and infuriating. Kenobi had a student, a secret apprentice. So, as he coaxes his battered ship back under control and limps toward the nearest Imperial outpost, his mind is not filled with thoughts of a long-lost son. It is filled with the cold, burning anger of a personal rivalry. Kenobi has managed to vex him, even from beyond the grave. This unknown pilot is not just a rebel who destroyed a battle station. He is Kenobi's legacy. Kenobi's final move in a game of chess that has spanned decades. And for Vader, that makes it personal. This is a subtle but very important distinction. In the original film, we see Vader as the Emperor's enforcer, but in the space between the films, in the story told by the comics that followed, we see something else entirely. Vader is not just hunting a rebel. He is hunting the last student of his greatest enemy. He is hunting what he believes is the last remnant of the Jedi Order. And he is also hunting the source of his own profound humiliation. When he finally returns to the Imperial Center on Coruscant, he is not greeted as a warrior who survived a great battle. He is summoned before the Emperor, and Palpatine is displeased. The loss of the Death Star is an unthinkable military and political disaster. Palpatine doesn't see a valiant effort from his apprentice. He sees a failure of command, a failure of insight. He asks Vader how one pilot, one single ship, could have slipped past him. You, Lord Vader, with your connection to the Force, how did you not foresee this? How did you not stop it? For 19 years, Vader has been the Emperor's fist, his unparalleled tool of conquest and fear. But now, for the first time, he has overseen the single greatest defeat in the Empire's history, and so he is punished. Not with a lightning strike from the Emperor's fingertips, but with something far colder, a bureaucratic demotion. Palpatine places Vader under the command of another man, Grand General Tag, the very man who had argued against the Death Star's supposed invincibility. It is an exquisite, calculated humiliation. So now, Vader has two driving forces. There is the public mission: obey General Tag, command the fleet, crush the rebellion, the work of an Imperial officer. But beneath that, there is a second, secret mission, his own mission. He must find the pilot who did this. He needs to find him, not just to serve the Empire, but to restore his own standing, to erase his own shame, and more than that, to understand, to look this new echo in the Force in the eye and extinguish it himself, to prove, once and for all, that Kenobi's legacy ends here. He has no idea who he is looking for. He has a ship type, an event, and a feeling, a ghost in the machine of the galaxy. It's not enough. He cannot use the full resources of the Empire for this personal quest, because to do so would be to admit his obsession, to show his hand to the Emperor. And so, he must work in the shadows. He needs agents who can operate outside the normal channels, people who are good at finding the unfindable. And this is what leads him to hire bounty hunters, dozens of them. This is what leads him, eventually, to the Mandalorian armor and the quiet, professional menace of Boba Fett. It's all so much smaller than we imagine, isn't it? The great hunt that defines The Empire Strikes Back isn't born from a grand imperial strategy. It's born from one man's personal failure, his wounded pride, and a burning, obsessive need to solve a puzzle that the Force has left for him. He knows there's a loose thread in the galaxy. He just has no idea that when he pulls it, his entire universe will unravel. He is a detective, hunting a ghost, who has no idea that he is actually hunting his own past. And the name of that ghost, the key to the entire mystery, is waiting for him, just around the corner. But for tonight, you don't need to worry about that. Let that image of Vader, alone in his spinning ship, just be a quiet backdrop. A man with all the power in the galaxy, who is completely in the dark. It's a peaceful thought in its own way, that even the most fearsome figures are just grappling with questions they can't answer. There's no need to follow the story any further right now. Just allow yourself to feel the gentle pull of sleep. Let the details blur and fade. All that matters is this moment. The comfort of where you are, the quiet of the room, to understand the shape of that darkness. The reason he is so blind to what is right in front of him. We have to drift back almost 2 decades, to a world of fire and a lie that remade the galaxy. You don't need to hold on to the names of the planets or the details of the fight. Just picture the end of a life. The man who was once Anakin Skywalker lies broken on the black sand shore of a river of lava. The air itself is ash. He has lost everything. His limbs, his friend, his wife. He is nothing but a torso and a head, filled with rage and pain, being slowly cooked by the heat rising from the molten rock below. This is the moment his old world ends, and then a new one begins, a dark, cold, sterile world. He is salvaged, taken to a medical facility that is more like a droid repair shop. He is placed on an operating table, and piece by piece, he is rebuilt. Droids, with their unfeeling metal claws, graft cybernetics to his body. They bolt on heavy robotic limbs. They encase his burned flesh in a pressurized suit of black armor. He is conscious for much of it. He feels it all, and when the final piece, the skull-like helmet, is lowered and sealed into place, the universe is replaced by the red tint of his new lenses and the hiss of the respirator that now breathes for him. It is the sound that will define him for the rest of his life. The first breath of Darth Vader. His master, the newly crowned Emperor Palpatine, is there to greet him. Vader pulls himself from the table, unsteady on his new legs. He feels the dark side of the Force surging through him, a terrible, intoxicating power born of his agony. But even with all that power, there is only one question in his mind, only one thing that matters. Through the vocoder of his mask, his first words are not of conquest or revenge, but of her. "Where is Padme?" he rasps. "Is she safe? Is she all right?" And here is the moment, the pivot point. Palpatine, his face a mask of false sympathy, delivers a lie that is a masterpiece of cruelty. It is so simple, so elegant, and so utterly devastating. He tells Vader, "It seems, in your anger, you killed her." Just that, a single sentence, and with it, the galaxy turns. For Palpatine, this lie is a necessary tool. It cements his apprentice's fall. It severs the final tether to Anakin Skywalker. By making him believe he is responsible for the death of the one person he loved, Palpatine ensures that Vader's grief will curdle into a bottomless well of self-hatred and rage. It is the fuel he will burn for the next 19 years. The perfect, loyal, broken Sith Lord, trapped in a prison of his own making. And crucially, if Padme is dead, then so is their unborn child. Vader has no reason to question it. In his memory, in the haze of his fury on that volcanic world, he remembers lashing out, using the Force to choke her. The Emperor's story makes a horrible kind of sense. It fits the narrative of his own failure. He destroyed everything. He is a monster. And so, he accepts it. He unleashes a cry of pure anguish, shattering the medical droids and the room around him with a wave of uncontrolled Force energy. But it is the cry of a prisoner, not a free man. And so, for nearly 2 decades, this lie has been the bedrock of Darth Vader's existence. The name Skywalker is a ghost, a forgotten thing. It's the name of the weak, foolish Jedi he destroyed. It's the name of the man who murdered his own wife. Why would he ever expect to hear it again? It has no future. It represents only a past that he has been ordered to bury. It's strange to think about, isn't it? How a story so vast, full of starships and planets, can balance on something so small and quiet as a single, well-told lie. I sometimes wonder, just for a moment, where you are right now, listening to this. What country, or what state, what time it is, deep in the night where you are. I have this picture of all these different quiet rooms, scattered all over the world, all dark, all listening to the same story drifting through the air. It's a nice thought. Wherever you are, I hope you're comfortable. I hope you're feeling safe and warm. Now, just let that thought go. Let it drift away. Because of that lie, told all those years ago, Vader is now flying blind. He is hunting the pilot who destroyed the Death Star, this powerful, unknown Force user, and he cannot make the one connection that would solve the entire puzzle. The name Skywalker simply isn't in his vocabulary of possibilities. It's a dead end, a ghost story. So he does what he must. He operates in the shadows of his own empire. He gathers the galaxy's most dangerous freelancers, among them Boba Fett. Vader gives him the little information he has. The pilot was from Tatooine, and his name might be known to a smuggler, Han Solo, or his Wookiee co-pilot. But the one piece of information Vader does have, the one thing he learned from an Imperial officer who interrogated the captured pilot on the Death Star, he keeps to himself. He knows the pilot's call sign, Red 5. That's all they have to go on, a call sign and a home planet. Vader sends his agents out into the galaxy on this secret, personal quest. He turns his attention back to the official business of crushing the rebellion for General Targ, all the while waiting for his network of spies and hunters to deliver him a name. He is waiting for a key. He just has no idea which door it will unlock. He believes it will unlock the identity of his enemy. He is wrong. It will unlock the door to his own prison. Just let that idea settle. A man waiting for an answer, having no idea that the answer will rewrite his entire life. You don't need to wait with him. You can let go. Let the story become a murmur in the background. The only thing you need to focus on is the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, in and out. There is nothing else to do, nowhere else to be. Just rest. For 19 years, that lie is the engine of his life. Not just the foundation, but the fuel. It is the cold, dark star around which his entire broken existence orbits. Imagine, for a moment, living with a ghost. Not a phantom that haunts your halls, but a ghost that lives inside you. The ghost of who you used to be. For Darth Vader, the name Anakin Skywalker is that ghost. And the lie Palpatine told him is the spell that keeps the ghost bound, silent, and powerless. Every day for 19 years, he wakes inside the machine. He sees the galaxy through a red-tinted lens. He breathes with the sound of a respirator, and every one of those days is a testament to his failure. The lie tells him that his rage, his fall to the dark side, was so complete, so catastrophic, that it consumed not only him, but the woman he loved and the child she carried. It is the ultimate monument to his weakness. And so, he dedicates himself to strength, to power. He becomes what the Emperor requires, a weapon, an icon of fear, the black-gloved fist of the Empire. He hunts down the last of the Jedi, the survivors of the Purge, and with each one he extinguishes, he is not just serving his master. He is extinguishing a reflection of what he once was. He is erasing the past. Each fallen Jedi is another confirmation that Anakin Skywalker, the hero, the chosen one, was a fool, a failure, that only Vader is real. This work fills the years. It gives his pain a direction. The grief for Padme is a sealed-over wound, a place in his mind he dares not touch, because to touch it would be to remember the man who caused it, to remember Anakin. The lie ensures that there is no comfort there, no legacy to find, no surviving piece of their love. There is only ash, so he does not go there. That room in his memory is locked, and the key is thrown away. His life becomes a grim, predictable rhythm, a summons from the Emperor, a new target, a new world to bring into line. He is a creature of pure function, efficient, relentless, empty. The galaxy whispers his name in terror, but it is a name with no history before the fire. He is Darth Vader. He began on Mustafar, born from the ashes of a Jedi. That is his official internal story. If you find these stories help you drift away, and you'd like more of them to find you in the quiet of the night, a simple follow or subscribe is always welcome. But that thought can fade away now too, because underneath all that brutal efficiency, something must have remained. A flicker, an echo. But the lie was designed to starve it of oxygen. Palpatine's masterstroke was not just in turning Anakin, but in isolating him. By telling him that he had killed his own child, Palpatine severed Vader's last possible connection to a future beyond the Empire. Without a son or daughter, what legacy could he have? Who could he fight for or build for besides the man who gave him his new life in the suit? The lie made him a prisoner twice over. First, inside the armor that keeps him alive, and second, inside a story where he is the villain with no hope of redemption. Because the one person who might have been able to redeem him, the one person who was a living embodiment of his love for Padmé, was, he believed, gone forever before they could even draw their first breath. And so, for 19 years, the name Skywalker is a curse word he never speaks. It is the name on a tombstone in his heart. It belongs to the past. It is dead. It's a curious thing, isn't it? How you can wall off a part of yourself so completely that you forget the door even exists. He has built a fortress around his own heart, and the lie is the cornerstone. And for nearly 2 decades, the walls have held. He has no idea that somewhere, out on a desert world he despises, those walls are about to be breached, not by a Jedi Master or a rebel army, but by a single word, a name he has spent half his life trying to forget. He thinks he is hunting an enemy, a powerful new player in the game, but what is coming for him is not an enemy, it's a ghost. And for a very long time, for decades in our world, that's where the story simply paused. We saw the aftermath of the Death Star's destruction, and then, 3 years later in film time, we saw The Empire Strikes Back. We saw Vader, obsessed, hunting the rebels to the ends of the galaxy, singling out the young pilot who had foiled him. And for all those years, the question of how he learned, of when he first heard the name Skywalker, was a mystery, a blank space. It's fine to have blank spaces in stories. Sometimes they're the most comfortable places to rest your head. You don't need to know everything. Over the years, many talented writers and artists tried to fill in that gap. A whole universe of tales grew in the quiet spaces between the films. These were known for a long time as the expanded universe. Stories published by a company called Dark Horse Comics, who were careful stewards of this galaxy for over 20 years. They told of grand adventures and secret histories, and for many, these were the definitive answers. But stories, like all things, sometimes shift. Their foundations move. And then, in the real world, a gentle tremor went through the foundation of all these stories. In 2012, Lucasfilm, the house that George Lucas built, was acquired by the Walt Disney Company. And with that change in stewardship came a change in the stories themselves. It was decided that a new, single, unified history was needed. One that would flow seamlessly from the films, to the books, to the television shows, and to the comics. And so, the old expanded universe was given a new name: Legends, a library of beautiful what-if stories, set aside with respect, and a new chapter was opened. This brings us, gently, to the year 2015. With Disney now owning both Lucasfilm and Marvel Comics, it felt natural, a kind of homecoming, for the comic book storytelling rights to return to Marvel, back to the place where it had all begun, on the printed page, back in 1977, when the very first Star Wars comic was published. A new group of writers and artists were given a quiet, extraordinary task. They were handed the keys to this vast, beloved galaxy and told to begin again. They weren't asked to fill every shadow or answer every question at once, just to light a few careful candles in the dark, to tell the stories that truly mattered. And one of the very first, most pressing questions they turned their attention to was this one, the one we are settling into tonight. What happened in the moments and the months after the Death Star was destroyed? How did the greatest villain in the galaxy discover the existence of the one person who could change his destiny? This is where our story tonight comes from, not from rumor or old theories held loosely in the hand, but from the very first pages of this new chapter, from a comic book series launched in 2015, simply called Darth Vader. It was here, in its opening issues, that this 19-year-old secret was finally, officially, brought into the light. And it began not with a vision in the Force or a grand cosmic revelation, but with a simple, quiet, professional meeting, a job offer, a contract for a man who never fails, a contract for Boba Fett. The writer of this series was a man named Kieron Gillen, and the artist was Salvador Larroca, and they began their story in a place of quiet, burning humiliation. They chose to show Darth Vader not at the height of his power, but in the immediate, humbling aftermath of his greatest failure. He has just returned from the Battle of Yavin. He is the sole high-ranking survivor of a catastrophe that he was supposed to prevent, and the Emperor is displeased. This is such a small human place to begin, not with galactic conquest, but with a performance review, a deeply uncomfortable one. In the first few pages, we see Vader kneeling before the holographic form of Palpatine, who speaks to him with a cold, imperial disappointment. Vader, the Emperor's wrathful hand, is told he has been clumsy, that his reliance on the Force has become a weakness, a dogma, and for his failure he is placed under the command of another, General Cassio Tag, an ordinary man, an officer who had argued against the Death Star's supposed invincibility. You can just feel the silent fury radiating from Vader's still form. To be subordinated, to be questioned, to be treated like a broken tool. And it is from this place of wounded pride that his secret mission begins. His official orders are to serve the Empire under Targ. But his private obsession, the one he funds himself, out of his own pocket, so to speak, is to find the pilot. This is why he needs Boba Fett. He cannot use Imperial resources for this hunt. It's too personal. It's an unsanctioned project. It's the beginning of Vader working for himself, not for his master. It's a lot of names and ranks, I know, but they aren't important to hold on to. They're just the people who held the pen, who drew the lines, who set the scene. You can let their names drift by like clouds. The only thing to feel is that sense of a quiet internal shift, a great power, humbled, now moving in the shadows. The artwork of this series, by Salvador Larroca, has a very clean, almost photorealistic quality. It makes this fantastical galaxy feel grounded and heavy. He draws Vader's armor with a sense of immense weight. You feel the effort in every movement, the deliberate, unstoppable purpose. But he also captures the stillness, the long moments where Vader is just thinking, processing. The unreadable mask becomes a canvas for everything we, the readers, project onto it. And Larroca uses shadow and the stark, shocking red of Vader's lightsaber to tell the story. The galaxy in this comic often feels dark, and Vader is the one holding the only light, even if it's a terrifying one. While Boba Fett is off on his mission, hunting for the name of the rebel pilot, Vader begins to assemble his own secret team. He needs people who can operate outside the Empire's official channels. And the characters Kieran Gillen creates for him here are a wonderful, dark reflection of the heroes of the rebellion. He finds a rogue archaeologist, a brilliant, chaotic young woman named Dr. Aphra. She is obsessed with ancient weapons and lost history, and she is utterly, terrifyingly brilliant. She is, in a way, a dark mirror of Han Solo, a scoundrel with her own ship, making her own rules, just trying to survive. And she is starstruck by Vader, in a way that is both funny and deeply unsettling. And then, through Aphra, Vader acquires 2 droids. A protocol droid, like C-3PO, plated in black metal, with glowing red eyes. His designation is 000. He is a specialist in etiquette, customs, and torture. And his companion, an astromech droid, like R2-D2, called BT-1, a BT unit. He looks like a standard astromech, but he is packed with an obscene amount of hidden weaponry, a walking, rolling war crime. They are the dark, twisted echo of the 2 droids who once served Anakin Skywalker. A little piece of his past, warped into something monstrous. This is Vader's secret crew, a rogue academic and 2 murder droids. With them, he begins his own investigations, building a clandestine power base, all while pretending to be a loyal subordinate to General Tag. He is playing a long, quiet game. And all the while, somewhere out in the galaxy, Boba Fett is methodically working his way down the list. He is following the trail. He is a professional, closing in on his target. He interrogates captured rebels. He follows whispers in cantinas. He shakes down informants. It's slow, patient work. The kind of work that fills the quiet months between one great battle and the next. We see Vader's story unfold on 2 tracks. The public one, where he is the Emperor's fist, carrying out missions to restore his reputation. And the private one, this shadow mission, driven by a need he barely understands himself. He just knows that the Force was with that pilot. He felt it, a power he hadn't felt since his old master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he cannot let it go. He is waiting for a name, one single piece of information, the key that might explain the gaping hole that has just been blown in the side of his universe. He thinks he is hunting a threat, an anomaly. He has no idea he is hunting for a ghost. He has no idea that the name Boba Fett will bring him is not an answer, but a question that will shatter the foundations of his entire life. The quiet is about to be broken, and so, in the deep space silence between missions, Darth Vader waits. He waits aboard his new command ship, the superstar destroyer known as the Executor. It is a vessel of impossible scale, a floating city of grey metal and lethal intent, a testament to the power of the Empire. But inside, in his private chambers, or standing on the vast bridge, The universe is just as quiet as it is anywhere else. It's the quiet of a long-held breath. His new crew is in place. The brilliant, reckless Dr. Aphra, the two cheerfully homicidal droids, 000 and BT. They are his secret assets, his shadow players. But the most crucial piece of his plan is still out there, moving through the underworld. A single hunter, chasing a single name. There is no great fanfare when the moment finally arrives. No orchestral swell. It begins, as these things so often do, with a quiet and professional transmission. A request for clearance to land. The ship is the slave one. The bounty hunter is Boba Fett. He has returned. Vader meets him not on the bridge, with its audience of officers and technicians, but in a sterile, private chamber deep within the ship. A room with no view. Just two figures standing in the cold, recycled air. One, a man in ancient, battered Mandalorian armor, covered in the dust of a dozen worlds. The other, a towering silhouette of black armor, his presence sucking all the warmth from the space around him. There's no need for pleasantries. This is a transaction. Boba Fett delivers his report with the flat, professional tone of a man filing paperwork. His helmet, with its distinctive T-shaped visor, is unreadable, but his voice, filtered through his modulator, is all business. He explains the process. The trail was difficult. The pilot was good at covering his tracks, but a trail always exists. He followed it from the gas giant of Yavin, back through rebel cells, all the way to a remote, forgotten world in the Outer Rim. An arid planet of dust and twin suns. A planet called Tatooine. And you can just imagine, for a moment, what that name does inside Vader's helmet. A name he has not heard or allowed himself to think for nearly 2 decades. The place he was born a slave. The place his mother died in his arms. The place he last saw his stepbrother, Owen, and his wife, Beru. A world of sand and sorrow. A place he buried. Fett continues. He says he found the boy's home, a moisture farm burned to the ground. He spoke to people in the local settlements. Grills, spacers, scavengers. They remembered the boy. A good pilot, they said, always dreaming of the stars. He learned that the boy had been watched over, from a distance, by an old hermit living out in the Jundland wastes. A strange, solitary wizard. A man named Ben Kenobi. Each word is a hammer blow, striking a bell that has not rung in 20 years. Kenobi. Tatooine. The connections are forming piece by piece in the dark behind Vader's mask. But they are still just pieces. He is still connecting a rebel pilot to his old master. The great betrayal. The duel on Mustafar. It is all about Kenobi. It must be. And then Fett delivers the final piece of information. The asset he was hired to acquire. The name of the pilot. The boy who destroyed the Death Star. The name, Boba Fett says, his voice flat and devoid of any emotion, is Skywalker. And in that moment, in the 6th issue of that comic book from 2015, the artists, Salvador Larroca and Edgar Delgado, do something extraordinary. The panel itself, the very frame of the story, shatters. From Vader's perspective, the world breaks. The viewport of the starship, the one that isn't even in the room, cracks into 1,000 pieces of jagged, red-hued glass. It's as if the sheer force of that one word, Skywalker, has broken reality. It is the only sound in a silent universe. The sound of a life built on a lie collapsing, because that name means everything. It is not the name of a stranger. It is not the name of an enemy. It is his name, the name of the man he was. The name, he was told, had died, and more than that, it was her name, Padme. Suddenly, the past 19 years rearrange themselves. The story he has been told, the foundation of his entire existence as Darth Vader, crumbles to dust. The Emperor, his master, had stood before him on the scorched earth of Mustafar as the droids were grafting the black armor onto what was left of his body. And he had told him a story. He had said, "It seems in your anger, you killed her." He had believed it. He had carried that guilt, that self-loathing for 2 decades. It was the anchor that held him to the dark side, the belief that he had destroyed the one thing he had turned to the dark side to save. And Palpatine had lied. She didn't die because of his anger. She died giving birth. She had their child, a child that Palpatine had told him was gone, a child who had lived, a son named Luke. All of this happens in an instant of shattered silence. On the outside, Lord Vader does not move. He is a statue, a monolith of perfect, deadly stillness. But inside that armor, a supernova has just gone off. The rage is so immense, so pure, it radiates from him in waves of dark, unseen energy. Boba Fett, a man who has made a career of reading dangerous situations, can feel it. He might not understand the details, but he knows that the information he just delivered has fundamentally changed the man in front of him. He has just handed a lit thermal detonator to a black hole. Vader's gloved hand clenches just once. A small, almost imperceptible movement. And then, through his vocoder, his voice comes out perfectly level, perfectly controlled. He dismisses the bounty hunter. The transaction is complete. Fett wisely does not linger. He takes his payment, and he leaves. He walks out of the sterile briefing room, leaving Darth Vader alone with the ghost that has just walked back into his life. He is alone with a name, Skywalker. And now, everything is different. The hunt for the rebel pilot who destroyed the Death Star is over. A new, far more desperate, and far more personal mission has just begun. This is not the Emperor's enforcer hunting a threat to the Empire anymore. This is a father hunting for his son. The entire story of The Empire Strikes Back is rewritten in that one silent, shattering moment. The relentless pursuit across the galaxy, the obsession with finding the young rebel. It's not about military strategy. It's not about revenge for the Death Star. It is the desperate, frantic, galaxy-spanning search of a father who has just learned that the child he thought he murdered is alive. He is trying to reclaim the only piece of his past, the only piece of her that still exists. He is hunting for Luke, not to destroy him for the Emperor, but to possess him, to turn him, to have his son at his side, so they can overthrow the man who lied to him, the man who stole his life. It's a nice thought to fall asleep on, isn't it? The idea that even in the darkest of villains, the story can be so much more complicated. That beneath all the armor and the rage, there was just a man who had been told the most devastating lie imaginable, and had just, after 19 years, learned the truth. And now he will burn the galaxy to get his son back. He stands there, in the quiet, and the future is no longer a straight line of service. It is a tangled knot of possibility, and at its center is a boy with his father's name. Let's just stay here for a moment, in the quiet of that starship bridge. There's no rush to get to the next part of the story. The important thing has already happened. A single word has been spoken. A name, Skywalker. In the comic book that tells this story, the 6th issue of that 2015 series, by writer Kieron Gillen and artist Salvador Larroca. We are shown something remarkable, something that a film, with its sound and motion, could never quite capture in the same way. The artists give us a silent, full-page image, a moment of pure visual poetry. You don't need to have the book in front of you to picture it. Just imagine Darth Vader standing before the vast viewport of his flagship, the Executor. He is a small, black silhouette against an ocean of stars. The window is enormous, a testament to the Empire's power, its ability to dominate even the cosmos. It is a perfect, clear view of the galaxy he serves, the galaxy he believes he has paid everything to bring to order. And as the name, his name, Padme's name, his son's name, settles into his consciousness, a tiny crack appears in that perfect view. It starts from the impossibly still shape of his helmet, a thin, jagged line, like a fracture in ice. And then another and another, spreading out across the massive sheet of transparasteel. The entire viewport, this giant eye looking out onto the universe, is shattering before him. It's a beautiful way of showing something, rather than just telling it, isn't it? There is no sound effect printed on the page, no krakoom, just silence. Because, of course, the window is not literally breaking. The ship is fine. This is a glimpse inside Vader's soul. It is the visual representation of a mind, a life, a carefully constructed reality, breaking apart. The Force is boiling inside him, an uncontrolled torrent of rage and grief and shock so profound that it is manifesting as this psychic schism. He is lashing out with a power he isn't even consciously directing. The perfect, ordered view of the galaxy that the Emperor gave him is now a fractured mess. The very foundation of his identity as Darth Vader, the story that he, Anakin Skywalker, murdered his wife and unborn child in his rage, has just been proven to be a lie. A cruel, elegant, devastating lie that has held him in chains for 19 years. Each crack spreading across the glass is a separate, agonizing realization. Padme didn't die on Mustafar. She survived long enough to give birth. My child lived. He has a name. My name. Obi-Wan hid him from me. And Palpatine knew. And he let me believe it all. It's just a small detail in a comic book, a single drawing. But sometimes the smallest details hold everything. That shattered window is the end of Darth Vader as the Emperor's loyal apprentice. The trust, the entire master and servant dynamic that has defined his existence, is broken beyond repair. He is still trapped, still bound to Palpatine's service for now. But the spell is broken. The dogmatic loyalty is gone, replaced by a cold, calculating fury. He has been a prisoner in more ways than just his suit. He was a prisoner of a lie. And now the truth has broken the glass of his cell. He can finally see the bars for what they are. From this moment on, everything Vader does has a dual purpose. On the surface, he is hunting the rebels for the Empire. But underneath, a second, secret war has just begun. He is now moving his own pieces on the board, and his goal is no longer to serve the Emperor's will. His goal is to find his son, to reclaim the living legacy of the woman he loved. And with that son at his side, he intends to destroy the master who betrayed him and take the galaxy for himself. The plan he once offered Padme on the fiery shores of Mustafar to rule together is reborn. Only this time, the offer will be for his son. The hunt for Luke Skywalker is now the central pillar of his existence. It is his only hope for a future that is his own. And all of that begins here, in the silent, imagined sound of cracking glass. And if you could see the page itself, the physical paper and ink page from that comic book, issue number 6, you would see that the artists went one step further. It's a choice so quiet, so subtle, you might miss it if you were reading quickly. But it's the whole story right there. You know how a comic book page is laid out. It's a grid of little boxes, isn't it? Panels. Each one is a window into a single moment in time. They guide your eye. They set the pace. And the black lines that separate them, the borders, they are the rules. They keep one moment from spilling into the next. They create order. In the panel where Boba Fett delivers the name, he stands there, cool and professional. And the word balloon, a simple, unassuming oval of white, floats in the air between him and the Dark Lord. And inside it, the name, Skywalker. When that word lands, the panel containing Vader doesn't just show a viewport shattering. The panel itself shatters. The thick, black borderlines that are meant to contain the image, to keep it neat and tidy on the page, they fracture. They splinter outwards, like the viewport glass, as if the psychic shockwave from Vader's mind has hit the very paper the comic is printed on. His dark helmet, his imposing silhouette, breaks free of the box that the artist Salvador Larroca drew for him. The art spills out into the white space between the panels, the space that's supposed to be empty, the silent gap between beats. His rage cannot be contained by the narrative structure anymore. It's such an elegant way to tell a story, isn't it? A language unique to this medium. No need for an internal monologue. No captions explaining what Vader is feeling. The writer, Kieran Gillen, trusts the artist, and together they trust you, the audience, to understand. They show us that the force of this revelation has broken the story's own reality. The orderly grid of Vader's life mission, report, obey, repeat, is gone. The neat little boxes he has been living in for 2 decades have just been blown apart from the inside. You don't need to be a comic book expert to feel the power of that. It's an instinctual thing. It's like seeing a crack appear in a perfectly smooth wall. You know, instantly, that the foundation is compromised. A tiny visual cue that means a very big thing is broken. And the thing that's broken here is the fundamental premise of Darth Vader's existence. He is no longer just a piece in the Emperor's game, confined to his square on the board. He is now outside the lines. And in the panels that follow this moment, the grid returns. The boxes are neat again. The borders are clean and straight. Because Darth Vader, Lord of the Sith, is nothing if not a master of control. He has to pull himself back together. He has to contain the inferno that is blazing within him. He has to present a calm, unbroken surface to the universe, to the bounty hunter standing before him, and most of all, to his watchful master, listening for any ripple in the force. But we, the readers, we saw the break. We know the foundation is gone. The story can pretend to go back to normal, but it will never be the same. Just as Vader himself can put his mask back on, emotionally speaking, but underneath it, he is a changed man. He lets Boba Fett leave, paying him handsomely for the information, for this name that has rewritten his entire past. And he warns the bounty hunter with a voice of pure, cold menace that this information is his alone. No one else is ever to know. Fett, a man who understands survival above all else, agrees. He has no idea what the name means to his client. He only knows that he has been paid an astronomical sum for a simple name, and that the most dangerous being in the galaxy has just commanded his silence. That's enough for him. He takes his credits and vanishes, leaving Vader alone in the silence of his Star Destroyer. Alone with the ghost of a name. Alone with the ghost of his wife. And alone with the sudden, impossible, incandescent truth of a son. From this moment, the hunt we see in The Empire Strikes Back is recontextualized. It's no longer just the story of an evil empire trying to crush a rebellion. That's the official story, the one the Emperor believes is happening. But now we know a second secret story is unfolding beneath it. It is the story of a father hunting for his son. Every Star Destroyer dispatched, every probe droid launched into the far reaches of the galaxy, every officer Vader chokes for their incompetence. It all has a new, desperate, personal urgency. He isn't just looking for the rebel who destroyed the Death Star. He is looking for the last living piece of Padme. He is looking for the only thing in the universe that is truly his. This isn't about military strategy anymore. This is a crusade. And it's a crusade he must hide from the one person he fears, the Emperor. Palpatine is all-seeing, a master of the dark side, always probing his apprentice's mind for any hint of betrayal or weakness. Vader knows that if Palpatine were to discover the existence of Luke Skywalker, the boy would become just another pawn, a tool to be used and discarded, or, worse, a replacement, a younger, more powerful apprentice to take Vader's place. So, Vader begins to play a double game, a breathtakingly dangerous one. He must find Luke, but he must do it quietly. He pours Imperial resources into the search, but he masks his true intentions. He uses bounty hunters, spies, and secret agents who answer only to him. He builds his own network within the Empire, a shadow power base loyal not to the throne, but to him alone. This is the birth of Vader as a true player, not just an enforcer. The lie that imprisoned him also kept him simple. It made him a weapon. Now, the truth has made him a strategist, a conspirator. He starts to look for Luke, not on the grand galactic maps, but in the small places, the forgotten files, the old records. He seeks out anyone who might have known about Padme's last days. He revisits the past, a place he has avoided for 20 years because of the pain it held. Now it holds a clue, which brings us, gently, to a woman you may not have heard of. A rogue archaeologist, brilliant, reckless, and deeply cynical. Her name is Dr. Chelly Lona Afra, and she is the first person Darth Vader recruits for his secret war. He needs someone who can operate in the shadows, someone with no loyalty to the Empire, someone smart enough to find the unfindable. And he finds her. She becomes, for a time, his secret weapon, his personal investigator. And her first mission is simple. Vader doesn't want to know where the sun is, not yet. First, he needs to understand the father. His first mission for Dr. Afra is to help him build an army. But not an army of soldiers, an army of droids, a private, untraceable, battle-ready droid army, loyal only to him. He is preparing for a future where he might have to fight the entire Empire himself, all for the chance to find his son and to make him an offer to rule the galaxy together. The dream he once had with Padme, now repurposed for Luke. It's a nice thought to fall asleep on, isn't it? That even the grandest, most epic stories in the galaxy often turn on the smallest, most secret missions. Not on starship battles, but on a quiet conversation in a dusty workshop between a dark lord and a rogue archaeologist, planning to build an army in secret. Everything that follows, all the sound and fury of the galactic civil war, is now underpinned by this one quiet tectonic shift. The shattered panel, the broken trust, and the secret hunt for a boy on a desert planet who has no idea that the monster haunting the galaxy is his father. And that this monster is coming for him, not with simple malice, but with a complex, desperate, and terrifying kind of love. Let all of that just drift now. There's nothing to hold on to, just the quiet hum of a ship, alone in the vast, silent dark. And in the silent hum of the starship's bridge, for a frozen moment that stretches into an eternity, nothing happens. The two figures are like statues. The bounty hunter, Boba Fett, still as Durasteel in his Mandalorian armor, having delivered his information, and the Dark Lord, an obsidian tower against the starfield, utterly motionless. The only sound is the rhythmic, mechanical breath of his respirator, in and out. A sound that has terrified the galaxy for 2 decades. But now it sounds like the slow, steady ticking of a clock that has just been broken. Then a noise, not a loud one. A high, singing, crystalline stress. It begins from the center of the vast viewport in front of Vader. A tiny, star-like fracture appears in the transparasteel, and from it, a web of impossibly fine cracks begins to spread silently outwards. Vader hasn't moved. He hasn't gestured. He has not reached out with his hand. He has reached out with his soul. The raw, untamed shock of his grief and rage, a power too immense to be contained by his own mind, has bled out into the world and is physically breaking the ship around him. The glass doesn't shatter into pieces. It just cracks. A spiderweb of frozen lightning, capturing the exact shape of his fractured self in that single, terrible second. You can almost picture it, can't you? The silent scream made visible in crystal, and inside that black helmet, inside the ruin of the man, memories are rising unbidden. Not as a flash, but as a slow, painful flood. A name, Skywalker. It was his mother's name, spoken over a dusty grave on a world with 2 suns. It was his own name, the name of a hero of the Republic, a boy full of foolish hope. And it was her name, Padme. He sees her, just for a ghost of a second, not as she was in the end, but as she was on the sun-drenched balconies of Naboo, smiling. The lie is now laid bare. It is simple, perfect, and devastating. The Emperor told him that in his anger he had killed her, that he had killed their child. He had built Vader's entire existence, his entire prison of pain and self-loathing, on that one foundational lie. For 19 years, Vader has been a ghost, haunting the galaxy, believing he had destroyed the only thing he had ever truly loved. And now he knows. She didn't die because of him, not entirely. She lived long enough to have their son, his son. The word doesn't even feel real. It is a concept from another life. But the Force screams its truth. The pilot who destroyed the Death Star, the one being in the galaxy who could make that impossible shot, was not just some gifted rebel. He was his, flesh and blood. And all of this thought, this entire rewriting of his own history, takes place in the space of a single, drawn-out breath from his respirator. Boba Fett is still waiting. He sees the window crack. He is a professional. He shows no reaction. He simply waits for his payment, or for his death. Vader, with a control that is nothing short of miraculous, pulls all of that raw, world-breaking emotion back inside himself. He contains the supernova. He turns, the movement slow, deliberate, the cloak settling around him like smoke. He looks at Boba Fett. "The name means nothing to me," Vader says, and his voice is the same deep, mechanically filtered monotone it always is. It is the most profound lie he has told in 20 years, and it is delivered with perfect calm. He confirms Fett's payment will be transferred. And then he gives one simple command. The bounty hunter is to forget the name. He is to tell no one. Fett wisely agrees. He is a man who understands the value of discretion, especially when standing in front of a being who can break a starship's window with a thought. He gives a slight nod, turns, and walks away, his footsteps echoing on the polished deck before the doors slide shut, leaving Vader entirely alone. Alone on the bridge of his flagship, the Executor, staring out at the galaxy through a window that is now as broken as his trust in his master. He stands there for a long time. There is nothing to remember here, nothing to hold on to, just the quiet of a vast, empty room and a man reckoning with the ghost of a life he thought was long buried. Then, a communication chime, a priority signal from the Emperor himself. A shimmering blue hologram flickers into existence before Vader. The cowled, withered face of Palpatine forms in the air, his yellow eyes seeming to pierce right through Vader's mask. The Emperor is powerful. He felt that tremor in the Force, that shockwave of Vader's emotion, all the way from Coruscant. "Lord Vader," Palpatine's voice rasps, full of false concern. "I felt a great disturbance, as if your past was crying out to you. And here, in this moment, the future of the galaxy is decided. Vader has a choice. He could confess, he could rage, he could demand the truth. But he understands his master. He knows that the boy, his son, would become a weapon, a replacement. So he plays the game. "It was nothing, my master," Vader says, bowing his helmeted head slightly. "Merely an echo, Kenobi, from the Death Star. It is gone now." He lies. He lies perfectly, directly to the most powerful Sith Lord the galaxy has ever known. And Palpatine, for all his foresight, for all his power, seems to accept it. He warns Vader not to be distracted by the past. And then the hologram vanishes, leaving Vader once again alone in the quiet dark. The first secret has been kept. The first act of defiance has been committed. This is no longer the Emperor's enforcer. This is a father. His hunt for Luke Skywalker is no longer an Imperial matter. It is now his own. And so begins the quiet conspiracy. A secret kept between a father and the cold vacuum of space. For 35 years, in our world, from the moment The Empire Strikes Back first graced the silver screen in 1980, until that comic book landed in our hands in 2015, we had a different story we told ourselves, a simpler story. And it's worth resting here for a moment, in that old understanding, because it was, in its own way, very beautiful. You don't need to trace the logic of all this, of course. It's not a puzzle to be solved, just a change in the light. The question was always there, hiding in plain sight. How did Darth Vader find out? In The Empire Strikes Back, he seems to know from the very beginning. We join the story already in progress. The hunt is on. He's dispatching thousands of probe droids across the galaxy, an obsessive, desperate search that feels far more personal than simply hunting down one more rebel pilot. And then comes that pivotal scene. Vader, kneeling before the enormous, shimmering hologram of his master. Emperor Palpatine is warning him about a new disturbance in the Force, a new enemy. "The son of Skywalker," Vader says, his voice flat, certain. Not a question, a statement of fact. The Emperor the master of secrets and lies, is taken completely by surprise. You can hear it in his voice. "How is that possible?" he demands. And Vader's reply is the line that shaped our understanding for a generation. He doesn't say, "I hired a bounty hunter who interrogated a local on Tatooine." He says, "Search your feelings, Lord Vader. You will know it to be true." For decades, we all took that line to mean that the Force itself was the messenger. We imagined a moment, sometime between the two films, where Vader, in his meditation chamber, helmet off, scarred and vulnerable, would reach out with his feelings, and suddenly, no, a cosmic revelation, a whisper from the universe itself, confirming a truth too powerful to remain hidden. And it's a lovely idea to drift off on, isn't it? The thought that the bond between a father and a son was so potent, so fundamental to the energy of the galaxy, that it couldn't be denied, that it would simply emerge, like a law of physics. It made their connection mythological, fated, two sides of the same coin, destined to find each other because the very fabric of reality willed it so. It fit the grand operatic scale of the story. It felt like poetry. But if you look at it gently, just for a moment, the poetry has a few stray threads. The Force, as we see it throughout the stories, is rarely so direct. It gives feelings, glimpses, warnings, a sense of danger, or a pull towards a certain path. It is a guide, not a galactic news service. It doesn't typically deliver a full name, address, and family history. If it did, the Jedi would have had a much easier time of things. If the Force could simply tell Vader that Luke Skywalker was his son, why not sooner? Why not the moment Luke first used it to guide the proton torpedoes into the Death Star's exhaust port? That was an earthquake in the Force. Vader felt it. He said as much to his wingman. The Force is strong with this one. But he didn't make the connection then. He saw it as a talented pilot, a new apprentice for Kenobi, perhaps, but not his son. And why wouldn't the Force have told him about Leia? She was right there, on his Star Destroyer, under his interrogation. Her Force presence, though untrained, was just as strong. Twin of the sun, twin of the sun. But he felt nothing. He saw only a defiant rebel princess. So the old, beautiful idea, as comforting as it was, leaves these quiet, unanswered questions floating in the dark. It required us to believe that the Force waited 3 years, and then, for reasons of its own, decided to pass along the information in a moment of quiet contemplation. The comic book offers a different answer, a colder one, perhaps, a more grounded one. It suggests that the universe doesn't just hand you the truth. You have to go looking for it. You have to do the work. And Vader did the work. He didn't wait for a mystical vision. He did what he had become, a hunter, an investigator. He used the tools of the Empire. He deployed his vast resources. And he hired the best, most ruthless contractor he knew to find the pilot who had humiliated him, the boy who was strong in the Force. He chased down a lead. The truth, then, wasn't a gift from the cosmos. It was a piece of intel, delivered by a man in Mandalorian armor for a fee. It was mundane. It was transactional. And in a way, that makes it so much more powerful, because a cosmic revelation is something that happens to you. It's passive. But a discovery is something you make. It's active. It's a choice. And it means that from the moment Boba Fett says that name, Vader is no longer a passive instrument of the Force or the Emperor. He is an agent of his own will, driven by a secret he clawed out of the galaxy himself. This new knowledge changes the entire feeling of The Empire Strikes Back. When we watch it now, we know he isn't just hunting a powerful Force user. He is a father, consumed with finding the son he was told died 19 years ago. The son whose existence proves that the very foundation of his life, his fall to the dark side, the pain, the suit, the service to Palpatine, was all built on a devastating lie. Every probe droid isn't just looking for a rebel base, it's looking for his boy. Every command he barks at his admirals is sharpened by this hidden personal desperation. His famous lack of patience with their failures, choking them for their incompetence, isn't just standard Sith management style. It's the fury of a man who feels time slipping away, who fears that his one chance to reclaim a piece of his past, his one connection to Padme, might be lost because of the bumbling of others. The hunt for Luke Skywalker was never the Emperor's will. It was Vader's obsession, his only hope, and he knew it all before the first frame of the movie even began. The story isn't about him discovering he has a son. The story is about what he decides to do about it. And that is a much more interesting place to begin.